What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. I'm Drew Bosley, that's Scott Savage, and you can join us at InsideTheGame.ca, our YouTube channel, Inside the Game Official. Make sure you sub while you're there. You can also hit us up on our TV streaming platforms around the globe, just like Amazon Prime, Roku TV, Jinx Esports TV, ESTV, and the list goes on. But if you want the audio side, well, we got you covered over there as well with Fired Up Network and all 212 platforms. That's right, you can't miss us. Scott, what's happening on today's show?
Well, today's show we're going to talk about Hideo Kojima's next big year in 2024 here. Hogwarts Legacy has topped the UK charts all this time later, and CD Projekt Red is not interested in selling. We've also learned that FROGWARES now owns the sinking city. That's been resolved.
That's good to hear. Let's talk about it. It's the legend himself, Hideo Kojima. Scott, Hideo Kojima says it's going to be a tough year for him as he's got a ton of projects on the go. Let's break it down. This is High Run Crier over at Games Radar. That's a new one for me coming up there. Hideo Kojima has said it's going to be a tough year for him amid simultaneously production of Death Stranding 2 and OD, as well as other projects. 2024 is the year of the dragon, if you didn't know. And Kojima Productions put out the lovely artwork in a celebration. Kojima offered up a pretty lengthy message to accompany the new art, revealing he's got Death Stranding 2 and OD on the go at once, as well as a new writing project, the Death Stranding movie with A24, and the revival of Hideo Tube. Dude, I don't. I kind of cringe at that
bit of corn with that one. Yep.
Cheese. Hideo Tube is a little YouTube channel where Kojima talks extensively about the latest movies he's watched. All of that is a lot of work on at once. So Kojima wants to limit his overseas business trips as much as possible. Maybe he won't be hanging out with Jordan Peele and Jeff Keighley quite as much this coming year. The ADR Kojima refers to there with Death Stranding 2 stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement. But don't worry, there's nothing automated or AI about it at all. It's funny how that's in there as a, hey, just back up. It's not AI, because we talked about that on yesterday's show, I think it was.
Yeah, AI has been picking up again in the conversation, and we want to let everybody know, no, this is not that.
It's simply Dino's actors recording lines to get their performance as close to lip-syncing movements for their characters as possible. Death Stranding 2 hasn't even started Japanese voiceover recording, if you're wondering what else is still left to do on the acting side. The likes of Kenjiro Tsuchida will probably be returning for the Japanese voice cast, while other probably take place after the English voice cast is completely wrapped up its work on the forthcoming sequel. Kojima announced back in 2022 that Death Stranding 2 is only a working title, so we don't even know the actual name of the new game. Here's hoping Kojima Productions is ready to share more details on the anticipated new game relatively soon. Interesting, Scott. That's a lot on the go for all at once, right? Man, it's enough to make one game, never mind two and a movie.
Oh, and take a real thought about how these games play out. The kind of depth and the really the kind of next level thinking that happens in Kojima's mind to bring these things to fruition. One of those projects is surely enough to dizzy an entire studio. Just think about, on top of that, what OD is doing, kind of branching into more of a horror idea, bringing out some of that PT experience, which is going to be mind-bending, no doubt, in other ways. So I really do see a lot of work here.
No, absolutely. I think he's got a lot on his plate. Is going to be a busy, not only this year, but in the next few years for Hideo and moving forward, right? He's definitely looking to take Kojima Productions to that next phase, and I think this is the way he's going to be doing it. He's a mastermind in his craft, straight up. What he creates is like nothing anybody else has ever done. So when he's talking, man, people listen, right? They want to know what's next, what's coming. Death Stranding 2, highly anticipated title. Not exactly what I'm looking for. I don't know if I'll ever get what I'm looking for out of Kojima again, to be honest, at the end of the day, right?
I was going to ask, do you have any sort of pull to go through Death Stranding? I had tried it once on Xbox Game Pass because I thought that was a curiosity.
Yeah. No, it is. Oh, man, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. I've tried. I put about 20-25 hours in, and I was just like, I don't think so. Like, it's just not for me. And
no, I would expect one of the hooks to grab you by then.
Nothing, man. It was so obscure and so just not up my alley, right? Like, it was like an abstract painting. I'm much more of a realistic artist, so when you get to the abstract stuff, I just bounce. So, and then this is the way I see Kojima moving, more in that abstract, mind-bending kind of stuff, and taking me out of it. There's definitely been some weird elements when it comes to the Metal Gear saga, but I was able to kind of, understand that, well, somewhat, move past that at least, and get back into the stealth thing that I love so much, which pulled me in and followed him, right? So
Metal Gear Solid is definitely the most anime thing that I'm aware of that you love, and I don't expect we'll get the same out of Kojima in the future. Myself, however, I'm looking for OD, and that kind of mind bending that you're talking about, I really hope that comes through.
No, absolutely. I think Death Stranding, you either liked it or you didn't, right? And it was kind of one of those dividing lines. There was no, like, in between. When you talk to a lot of people, it is either, Death Stranding is awesome, or Death Stranding was just, it just wasn't for me. And then Death Stranding 2 is announced. I was like, well, I didn't really care for the first one, so I don't think I'm really going to probably care for the second one. And then he announced OD this year, and I'm like, well, definitely not going to care about that because it's just not my genre. But I know a lot of people are like, yo, it's got the PT vibes. Let's go. And then you were all over this, right? And there's going to be so many other people. I look forward to seeing everybody's reactions to playing that game, to understanding whatever he's about to get into. And then on top of all of this, he's got the Death Stranding movie. And I was like, man, Kojima's just killing me right now, dude. It's just not.
So, that might be the opportunity to understand, though. I don't have to tell the story; it will be told to me.
Yeah, in 2 hours, probably, hopefully.
Yeah,
right?
Actually, that's a good question. Yeah, how long does that become?
Yeah, but yeah, Kojima definitely a busy man, without a doubt. Scott, Hogwarts Legacy is the first non-FIFA game to top the UK charts since GTA 5. It's been a while, to say the least. Jordan Miller over VGC. Hogwarts Legacy was the highest selling physical video game in the UK in 2023, ending the FIFA series' 10-year run of dominance.
Holy.
Wow.
It's not just the UK either. Those games sell like crazy across the world.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely do. The RPG set in the Harry Potter universe is the first game to achieve the feat since 2013's GTA 5, reports GamesIndustry.biz. Hogwarts Legacy's strongest platform was the PlayStation 5, with PS4 coming in second. The third highest selling platform for the game was the Nintendo Switch. I didn't see that one coming.
It took a while to get over the Switch, didn't it?
It did, but it made its way there, which is nice to see because apparently it did pretty well. Which is notable as the Nintendo Switch version of the game was released in November, with the PS5 and PS4 versions landing in February and May, respectively. According to the GfK data, 12.76 million boxed video games were sold in the UK in 2023, accounting for a drop nearly of 5%. As of November, Hogwarts Legacy was also tracking for an incredibly strong performance in the US, fighting neck and neck with November's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for the year's top spot. Hogwarts Legacy takes place around 100 years prior to the events of the famous book series, thrusting players in the role of a new student at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The game's original release came amid significant controversy surrounding book author J.K. Rowling's public stated views on transgender rights. We do not need to get into that, Scott.
Now, no, that's been done to death.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been covered through and through, right? Where she stands. So, either way, dude, Hogwarts Legacy, Avalanche, incredible work. Hands down. It was my number 2 game of the year. Number 2.
Oh.
Mine and Corey's, actually. So, it was just, man, there's just nothing like it, right? It is magical. It felt like the Harry Potter world.
Oh, absolutely. And I can speak on behalf of my generation, will say. I'm supposed to be the same age as Harry Potter, I think. Everybody I know bought and played and loved this game. I have a friend currently playing through it, and I still see them on the friends list, and I check in now and again because they're now further than I am. But, I need to go back and play this game, finish it up. There's so many from this year. that that's true for, but Hogwarts, there really is nothing quite like that. We're getting Quidditch eventually, but are we going to get a Hogwarts Legacy 2? And that's the biggest question to me now.
I think we will. I think it deserves a sequel. It is done so well, obviously taking #1 spot in the UK and doing really well over here. It was boycotted just because of J.K. Rowling's stance, which is unfortunate for the studio, right? I think that's the biggest thing. She did really hurt the studio's development and production of the game because it could have been even bigger. And not to say that the game was small by any means, but it could have been even more well received through and through. But moving forward, dude, the game was beautiful. It had a wicked story on it. It was a ton of fun. I hope they fixed the broom flying mechanic.
See, I got used to it,
Man,
but with Quidditch coming up, they're going to have to figure that out.
So Quidditch is made by a different studio altogether, and I'm wondering what the difference is going to be when they get into the Quidditch versus where we were with Hogwarts Legacy, right? It's a whole different mechanic. The Quidditch game, a lot more cartoony, almost Fortnite-esque, right?
Yeah.
It's got that art style. So it's a little bit, I don't even want to say younger audience, but a different appeal, I think, at the end of the day. But I wonder how long that's going to stick around because it's completely different and separate from the actual Hogwarts Legacy game.
Yeah.
We never got it in Hogwarts Legacy, so Quidditch is going to be on its own separate platform, its own separate identity. But does it have the legs to stick around, Scott? Where Hogwarts Legacy obviously is done so well. If they would have introduced Quidditch there, would you still be playing it?
That's one thing I've been wondering. Is there multiplayer in that case? Would that have brought along a lot of longevity to the game? But to your point, I think standing on its own, I'm not sure it's going to sell nearly as well as Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm not sure it'll really have too much. I want to see a roadmap, and that's going to have to be at least a year long.
It's going to be a multiplayer game, right? Hands down, but it's got to have some kind of legs to it. I just don't know if it will have the legs. Hogwarts Legacy, on the other hand, though, is a point A to point B story, right? There's an ending at the end of all of this, and then it's wrapped up. Dude, when I wrapped it up, I was like, man, that was perfect. Like, it was so cool. There's just so many mysteries and things unwind and secrets to find. It just kind of
getting lost.
Oof, absolutely. I just loved it. So looking for a sequel. It's nice to see it actually finally top the charge over FIFA. Dude, 10 years. It's taken 10 years for something to reach that level. So granted, you have to think a sequel is in the works, right?
Oh, absolutely. I really hope there is. And the other message of this game is, or this article rather, is that FIFA is still an excellent game.
Absolutely. Scott, CD Projekt is not interested at all at being acquired. They want to be the
back off, Microsoft.
That's right. Ryan Dinsdale over at IGN. Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher developer CD Projekt Red is not interested in being acquired, despite the likes of Xbox and PlayStation actively seeking out studios for purchase. Adam Kaczynski, Chief Strategy Officer of parent company CD Projekt SA, told Polish outlet Projekt that the company is happy and healthy as an independent being. Quote, "We are not interested in integrating ourselves into a larger entity," end quote. Kaczynski said, quote, "Throughout our entire lives, we have worked towards the position we currently hold. We believe that in a few years, we will be even bigger and stronger," end quote. Oh, Scott. Here we go, buddy. CD Projekt Red is currently getting bigger as an expansion into the North American is currently underway. The aptly titled CD Projekt Red North America will include teams at an already established Vancouver studio, plus a new Boston-based studio currently being built. These teams will work adjacent to the CD Projekt Red developers in Poland, but will focus on Cyberpunk 2077 sequel, codenamed Orin. Instead, the next mainline Witcher game, codenamed Polaris. Another studio owned by CD Projekt Red, perhaps indicating its desire to be an acquired instead of being an acquiree, is the Molasses Flood, which remains independent under the main company as it works on multiplayer Witcher codename Cyrus. Dude, here's the biggest thing. The Molasses Flood made a game. The Flame in the Flood. I loved it. It was incredible. I bought that game 2 or 3 times on different platforms.
Oh, yeah?
To keep going. Oh, yeah. And I just adored it. And then they came out with something hollow, and I can't remember what it was. And that was the end of them. They got acquired. We haven't seen anything since. They're working on the Witcher content of some sort. Haven't seen anything since on that either. So we're kind of curious what is happening with them, where they land. But CD Projekt Red at the end of the day is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that they don't need Xbox. They don't need PlayStation to acquire them. They are going to be one of the go-to studios, even after the fiasco of Cyberpunk at launch to where it is today. Man, that's a completely different game. And then you have Phantom Liberty, the latest DLC, which then puts that at a whole other level as well. It is incredible. Cyberpunk 2077 sequel, whatever they call that, is going to be, I think, a lesson learned from 77, what not to do, and to make sure things are ready at the forefront so that they don't brick consoles, that they don't have all these bugs and issues, because they got called out on it, right? So here we go, get ready for the sequel, and then the next Witcher game as well. We had the enhanced edition of Wild Hunt, which was cool, very, very cool. Still, man, if I had the time, dude, I'd love to go back and wrap that game up.
Oh, myself as well. Yeah, that's just hundreds of hours that people poured into that game. And the idea that CD Projekt Red is still strong after Cyberpunk, that's something that I was hoping for the whole time. You know, we really didn't think that it was going to be enough to sink CDPR forever. And although they did take a hit, I think it was lessons well learned.
No, for sure. They have to take what they have done in the past and then move it forward, right? And be able to kind of move things along and then give us a sequel that will take us where the launch. But here's the thing, right? When Phantom Liberty launched, dude, there weren't issues. It was a solid launch. Boom, here it is. Everybody's all in and like, wow, this is incredible. It was cool. Cyberpunk just wasn't really clicking for me. The story, though, for Phantom Liberty was really cool. It did click a lot more than the base game. I did wrap up the base game, which was cool. At the end of the day, definitely had some bugs. But yeah, moving into the DLC, dude, it was clean. I'm like, perfect. Lessons learned, get in the sequel. We got to be there at the same point, too, right? And then the next Witcher game. Do we have Geralt still in The Witcher 4 would be at this point?
Oh, I think it was supposed to be Geralt now, but there was some discussion as to whether it'll be a new Witcher, and I'm not sure if everybody liked that idea. I think we're sticking with Geralt.
I think that'd be
I like the idea that that CD Projekt Red has really learned from this, and they can demonstrate it with Phantom Liberty. I think that's a great example of that. They really can turn it around. They don't need Xbox or PlayStation. They don't need that funding, although everybody would like it, of course.
Sure.
And they don't need that talent. They still have that talent retained, and I think that's really important.
Yep, absolutely. Stay independent because we're losing more and more studios.
Drew, this is an interesting situation that has just received an update now. So we're going to step back through time and then give a little update here. FROGWARES is now the sole publisher of The Sinking City across all platforms. And we had actually seen The Sinking City way back right at the end of 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
Perhaps in the middle of 2020, but that's where the issue happened. And regardless, David Carcasel at PSU gives us more. The Sinking City is an H.P. Lovecraft-inspired detective game, and its developer FROGWARES can now finally close a complicated chapter that at one point resulted in The Sinking City being delisted from digital storefronts. I've pulled a little bit from when that happened just to get a little understanding here. Here we have a comment from FROGWARES CEO Whale Ammer, who says, "We did our best to deal with this quietly and amicably, but to no avail. Even after court rulings in our favor, we are still being roadblocked in simply being allowed to sell our own game. Fans of our games keep asking for answers, and quite frankly, we are so tired not being allowed to tell them the honest truth. Hence our public statement." And that is the end of the quote on that. Reveals quite a frustrating situation. Along with unpaid royalties, FROGWARES also alleges that Big Ben / Nacon attempted to create the perception that FROGWARES didn't own or create the game. Its methods include removing the FROGWARES logo from the front of the game boxes and art. That sounds quite suspect to me. Listing them as a technical partner, purchasing domain names for The Sinking City and Sherlock Holmes without consulting FROGWARES, and developing a tabletop RPG based on The Sinking City, again without notifying the studio. And that's the original excerpt I pulled from way back in August of 2020. insane situation there. So we now have the update. In a statement published to Twitter, that would be publicly, FROGWARES announced that it is now the sole publisher of the Sinking City across all platforms. Quote, "We're happy to finally put this whole thing behind us, and we look forward to sharing more news about the future of the franchise very soon." The quote ends, "A legal battle between the game's original licensee has been going on since 2019 and now has officially been concluded, with FROGWARES winning out as the sole publisher. This means there will be a new version of the game available for players to purchase, and it also means that there will be some issues current players will need to be aware of. Specifically, that save game files from the current version of the game will not be compatible with the new version. However, the old version will still be available for players that aren't yet finished playing through the game, and FROGWARES is encouraging players to try and finish their current playthroughs." So a bit of a strange situation there. If you have a game already most of the way through, you can keep your current form of the game and finish that off separate, but there is a new version. The old version, however, will be available for players up until February 28th of this year. And while FROGWARES hasn't specified when the new version will be up, it'll likely be around the same time. That makes a lot of sense. Quote, "We want to thank you all for your support and patience, and we look forward to sharing more news about the future of the Sinking City very soon." And that's where the quote ends.
Man, wow. Dude, congrats to FROGWARES, first of all. Obviously, that partnership now is long gone. Big Ben and Nacon, that's over with, right? What an unfortunate circumstance for a developer to get into. Like, who would have thought? Man, I wonder what was going on. I never really thought much of it. Wasn't you and Nate way back when reviewed the game for us on the show, and it was kind of, you guys thought it was just okay, whatever, and we just kind of moved on, right? But then there's other titles that they worked on too. But man, it's just, I don't understand how you do that to somebody who developed the game. You take their logos off the box art. Like, really?
That's where it gets suspect to me. I have a hard time. I don't want to assign intent, but that does not seem to be good intentioned.
No, right? Like, we always try best practices over here and make sure that we do well and do right by the people we work with. And I couldn't imagine trying to screw somebody over like that. And it's just like, man, they're the ones that made the game. You didn't make it. What are you doing? A technical partner? It's their game. So at least now they own the rights, Scott, is the biggest thing, right? They own it, all platforms. Good heads up for FROGWARES too, to say, hey, if you're not done the game yet, you might want to wrap it up because nothing carries over, because we're basically going to have to recreate somewhat aspects of the game to make sure it's ours and not attached to Nacon's name anymore, right? They're now on their own. Do we get a sequel now? Is my other question, Scott.
Putting this back up into the spotlight might actually get the attention that this game rightfully deserved at launch.
Absolutely. It's been quite a while, right? A few years to finally settle this out. So maybe now is the time to say, hey, we're also coming down the pipeline with the latest game. So maybe a new Sinking City is on the way. God, it's another day and still no games out yet. We just, man, it's mind blowing to think we gotta wait until Prince of Persia gets here. But
soon.
Either way, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. This has been ITG Daily, a show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Drew. That's Scott.
And we'll see you inside the game.